Well, Dickie Doc is at it again, spreading misinformation and downright lies because of his bigotry and get off my lawnness while wearing Bermuda shorts, open-toe Birkenstocks, and Argyle socks. Yes, Argyle socks. Rob has the story. Rob?
Yeah, so Richard Dawkins, author of The God Delusion in 2006, posted on Twitter, or X if you're nasty, he said, quote, 2 men masquerading as women were allowed to box in the Olympics against real women. The problem with this is that he's simply wrong. Iman Khalif from Algeria, who won gold in boxing in the Olympics, was assigned female at birth and identifies as a woman. She's not trans, she's not intersex, she has always identified as a woman. Then, later after this, his Facebook page was taken down. He jumped the gun and accused Facebook of deleting his page for what he said on Twitter. That claim was also incorrect. He eventually apologized to Facebook, but not to Khalif. This story, which has really big old man yells at clouds energy, is from The Friendly Atheist by Hemant Mehta, published on August 11th, 2024.
Yes, we were all remarking on how we feel big boomer energy coming from this story right now. But I'm coming to you, Phil. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind us talking about the main accusations that Dickie Doc made about the female boxer Imani Khalif, and how were they actually debunked?
Well, yeah, so the accusation is that Khalif, or Halif, hope you pronounce it, was actually a trans woman. And one of the reasons given for that statement was that she, during the IBA, the International Boxing Association World Championship tournament the year before, which I think will be in 2023, was in the finals. After she won the finals against a Russian woman, right, she was disqualified. And the reason given by, and get this, the Russian, the IBA director, who is Russian, claimed that the certain test results showed that Khalif was XY and not XX. Sorry, XY and not XX. But yeah, he did not present any medical evidence. So based on that, apparently it seems as if people brought that back up as a means of saying, no, she is a trans woman. But there was no evidence at all for such. And to make matters worse, or better, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, actually banned the IBA because the claims were not substantiated, and there were some other issues with the IBA, some other on-the-hand issues apart from those. So, and also, Khalif, she actually she actually passed the conditions for the Olympics, all the conditions. So there was no reason for her to be exempted at all. And in addition to that, there was another woman who decided to was trans woman from Taiwan at the same time, right? But that lady also was shown to have fit the conditions for the Olympics. So it is strange that the way people were behaving. Is it because she was Algerian? What was it? Because the other person was Chinese? I don't know.
It's racism.
Yeah, it's racism?
I think it's more so, racism.
It's racism.
So, Rob, what you have to say about that?
I don't know, Phoebe, tell me about racism.
Yeah, let's hear about racism.
You're ask the whitest person on here to talk about racism.
Exactly, because that's how this works. Go ahead.
As somebody who does have some Algerian Berber heritage, this is something that, does feel very odd, because I don't feel safe going to Algeria, and I don't think Imani Khalifi would feel safe going to Algeria if this was true. Because, what is femininity in this case? Short, white, Italian woman who is a stereotype of Western European-centric white femininity defeated by tall, non-white woman who, she complained, hit her too hard and she'd never felt a punch like it in a boxing match. It's a boxing match, not a tickling contest.
Right.
She did apologize for that after. She
Well,
said, "Wow,
it's
I
great to
can't."
apologize afterwards, but it don't make any difference when you've been such a sore idiot in the ring. I've never been punched this hard in a boxing match before because boxing shouldn't be like. Seriously, I mean,
No, the problem is that she apologized for it, right? Which is better than Dawkins, because Dawkins didn't apologize for that. So even the person who got punched said that they did regret saying anything that could be misconstrued with misidentifying their gender. And then Dawkins still didn't even apologize.
That punch probably made her head spin. Maybe Dawkins should have had his head spin a few times and then come back to rationality. But here's the thing. When you get to, old Richie D, he is not a specialist in sports, biology, sociology, ethnographic studies, or anything similar. He's just a bloke on the internet screaming into the void. As George W. Bush said, when someone throws their food on the floor and you run over and pick it up, you're giving them what they want. Dawkins threw his food on the floor, everyone ran over to him, and he got what he wanted. He got the attention he wanted. We should stop doing that, and we should stop doing it to all of these idiots, and we should just go...
Well, let's talk about that, Rob. What do you think the best way to tell these people to F off would be? Should we actually pay attention to what they say just because of who they are, or should we just say, nah, I'm not going to have it any longer?
Well, I mean, a little bit, yes, you should pay attention, partly because they have said things that are useful and smart in the past, things that, that doesn't mean that they're going to be useful or smart in the future. Broken clocks. But also because if we want people to not fall victim to fallacies like appealing to authority, then we do need to give them the option for appeal to expertise. That does not say that he is an expert in this case. I'm just pointing out appeal to expertise is a thing that can occur. The reason why this whole thing really messes with me is not like what he said on Twitter, which is awful, right? It's specifically that after he said it on Twitter, his Facebook page was taken down for completely unrelated reasons, which I can bring up in a moment. And then he said, what? I said a thing on Twitter, which caught me backlash. And then my Facebook went down. Clearly, these unrelated companies are conspiring against me, which is frustrating because that level of persecution complex is something that I'm used to getting from like Christians, which
sounds like
not.
an Elon Musk advertiser's lawsuit.
So like that blew my mind, that he went from Twitter to Facebook and said, I'm being persecuted because of that. Then later what happened was he got a hold of Facebook's security experts. I forget her name, but she said that the reason why they locked down his page is because they had reason to believe that it was hacked into, and that they wanted to stop any damage before it occurred. And then that makes sense, right? Because they're going to do that and then tell him what goes on. But it doesn't matter, because old man thought a thing, so therefore they took down his page, and he's going to get real upset about it. He then apologized to Facebook for going, sorry, you're right, I see that you did not delete my page, and he ain't said shit to leave.
And he's not going to. I think that the most disappointing thing specifically about Richard Dawkins, that I think that a lot of us, I will speak for myself, is that, I read The God Delusion, and Richard Dawkins was one of the people that I listened to when I was first coming out of religion that really kind of helped me think about evolution, how to separate reality from fantasy, and some of the arguments for theism and how to debunk them, really, kind of helped me on the straight and narrow, I would say. But as of late, it seems like that he just has this like vendetta that he's going to stick it to trans people as best as possible. And just to clarify, he's a biologist, but he's an evolutionary biologist. It's when it comes to the science, especially when it comes to the medical science that is even behind, sex, it's quite obvious that he is completely inept. And even when, because we covered him, according to Phoebe, one too many times for saying something gaffy. he would just mention to say that, well, someone who identifies as trans, I do respect their pronouns just because I'm being nice, not necessarily because I agree with what they're saying. And it's very disheartening that we're here to the point where this man is running along with a lot of these other misinformation buffs when it comes to something that should never have been politicized. A boxing match that is on the Olympics, in the women's division, should have never been a political event. It is a sports event that people can look at, and if they enjoy boxing and say, oh wow, don't they look great? And then as like you mentioned, Rob, the Italian boxer, I never been hit so hard in my life. I'm like, well, honey, why are you in the hell in the Olympics fight in a boxing match?
It's a boxing match, not a tickling contest.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's a boxing match.
No, it's a boxing match. I like, the point. I'm not a boxer, but I've watched a few boxing matches in my life.
You're not a student of the ancient art of pugilism.
No, I am not. With the
Queensberry rules.
With Queensberry,
yes,
Queensberry rules. Yes, I am not that, but I have watched a few boxing matches in my life, and I believe that the object is to hit the other person hard. Am I wrong? No, you're right.
The gloves and the head
Mm-hmm.
supposed to make contact, and the gloves and the body, they're supposed to make contact as well. And then judges sit there and go, that person did better with the gloves making contact with the other person.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And in hitting is what I'm saying. So let me come back to the conversation though, because I really want to talk about the role of media and how media has really played in this whole scenario of making what Dawkins said even relevant. Phoebe, what does the role of media or us even play in correcting misinformation, especially when it comes to high-profile individuals like Dickie Doc?
So you have to take into consideration is, why is this person still being covered? What is this person's reason for being covered? I mean, is this person in any way other than somebody who just shouted a lot and somebody went, oh, that person shouted a lot on something? That's the problem that you have here. Because if I was to walk down the street and go to Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, you don't see those people getting media coverage and they're saying similar things. The media has a responsibility to actually report the news. This is not the news. Because for the love of Jesus Christ, the news media has stopped reporting the news. The news is something that's gone out of fashion. It went out of fashion when, Soviet Union went out of fashion in the early 1990s by the looks of it. And it just has to go back to the news media reporting the news. You have to report on actual events that are actually newsworthy and not things that are lazy and easy for you to write about. News is not always easy to get to the heart of. 3 Mile Island was not an easy story to cover, and I'm pretty sure if 3 Mile Island and Richard Dawkins saying something had happened on the same day, Richard Dawkins would still have been somewhere in the news, even though 3 Mile Island was actual news. This is not news. The sports news here is not what Richard Dawkins said. Right. It's the results of the first round boxing match between an Algerian and an Italian that didn't finish because of anything that was done by the Algerian boxer. It's because the Italian woman's headgear kept on slipping and she got irritated enough that she just went, I can't do it anymore. And her headgear had to be replaced twice in the fight. And in the end, the referee just went, stop. Yeah. You can't do this. Your headgear's not working properly. Go away. So it was nothing to do with her being knocked out or being punched too hard. The referee stepped in and her corner stepped in after the second time that her headgear wouldn't fit properly. And that's why she abandoned the contest, because she got too irritated with her own headgear. That's an actual story. First round boxing match abandoned because of equipment failure. Not old man yells and howls at moon, transforms into werewolf and runs around screaming nonsense.
That's not the news. news, as
It's not
Phoebe would say.
the news.
The news. I
Need to
sense a
report-
theme here.
We
The
report the
news.
actual news, for
News.
goodness sakes.
Right.
Yeah.
That needs to be a TV, not a TV. That needs to actually be a shirt. Greg, I hope you're listening. So Phil and Rob, Phil, I want you to answer this first, and then Rob, if you can chime in as well. Where is the accountability when it comes to people like Richard Dawkins spreading misinformation, and especially like a person who, for a very long time, until he hit his head on the news one day, lost his mind. So where is the accountability as far as like what he has said, and where can that accountability be found? Are we the ones who are supposed to hold him accountable, or somewhere else? Phil, I want you to answer, and then Rob.
In terms of accountability, I think every person should hold him accountable, because he's this major figurehead among the atheist community. And not only that, but I think also the science community should hold him accountable, because he's making some statements that are not in keeping with the data at all, right? And I am kind of shocked that a person who is supposed to be an evolutionary biologist are making claims about trans women and trans not being something that is part of nature, when there's adequate and multiple evidences within nature to show that this is also a part of nature. So it has me kind of confused. I'm wondering, honestly, if he is
Are you wondering whether he has some underlying illness?
dementia with his age. Dementia is setting in, because some of this, the sort of outrageous claims that I've been hearing in the past few years from Richard Dawkins about trans, and taking into account his age, I'm wondering if he's going and being an evolutionary biologist. How will evolutionary biologists will be making these claims? I can see that he's aging. Maybe he's there's some mental issues going on there.
Or
That
could
is called,
Or could he just be a bigot?
Yeah, I'm bigot. Or was always a bigot. But but sometimes what happens with people with dementia, hidden things actually start to come to the forefront, because there's no inhibition anymore. It is like a person who is basically, let's say a person who has drunk a lot and starts spilling things, their true character starts to show up.
Well, he already called himself a cultural Christian, so raging bigot probably is up there too.
Yeah.
Rob, what say you?
Yeah.
So it's hard when it comes to accountability, because there's a couple reasons for that. The main one being the people who should hold him accountable are the people who have something to lose by being associated with him. So the like easily Twitter possibly, but Twitter via Elon prides itself on being not just like free speech, but the freest speech that ever did speak freely. And that means that they actually benefit by letting him say largely whatever he wants, and that's not unique to him. That's just anyone can say largely anything. So then you have to start going to, because again earlier, right, it's appeal to expertise. He is an expert in some things, and we do need to give him that credit. That way we can honestly deconstruct the things that are wrong or problematic. And I don't even mean that in a social way, just like literally the problem with reasoning. So who should hold him accountable? The people who give him degrees. If the people who gave him degrees in professional like association, if it becomes an issue that they are associated with this person, they should be holding them accountable, because ultimately there's nothing out in the fabric of the universe is going to say you have said an untrue thing, therefore snap, you're done. Like it's only people in brains. I can't speak to the contents or the health of his brain, and I don't want to. So it's going to have to be everyone else who thinks that they need to.
Well, in a world where misinformation spreads quickly, we must prioritize integrity over ego. Correcting our mistakes is a sign of strength, not weakness. As we work towards a just and rational society, we must remain vigilant against falsehoods and stand in solidarity with those who are are unfairly targeted. Only by doing so can we build a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect they deserve. On a side note, I need Richard to go take some Adderall, drink a hot cup of Granddad, and shut the fuck up. Perhaps he'll feel better in the morning and stop making the news by showing his ass on the internet. And if you, dear viewer, want to see more of us on the internet, click here.